object would you most like to find?
Like, oh, long lost, like, so, like, say it one more
Like,
time.
basically it's asking what toy or something you had from your childhood that you haven't seen in years would you like to find?
Oh, probably, some of my rescue heroes. I had tubs of those, and then I gave them to my nephews, and then I think, my sister, like, gave them to Goodwill or something, and, like, I went to, right after we donated my nephews a bunch of toys that we had, we go to this like budget boutique or whatever, it was like a Goodwill, and we were donating stuff, so we went around back, and we're looking into this tub, and I'm like, here's all the toys that we just gave them, and so that really upset me, and then we had these Power Rangers, like, from the Mighty Morphin series, and they were like, you know, pretty good condition. We had them all of our life, and then we gave them to our friend's little brother, and then the same day they're out there like busting them up, and so if I could see that again, I already.
You don't have to sound it.
Have a good one.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Brannigan the Shenanigan. That's what they call me on the stage. And I was always a class clown all the way through school. And then once I got to high school, I started going to this coffee shop called The Roasted Bean and doing open mic. And that was a lot of fun. Then one of my favorite high school memories happened when I was a senior. I went to Troy Buchanan High School. And we had this talent show / pageant called Mr. 2HS, where all the male like seniors went up against each other, and you know they represent a club or something. And I was representing Film Crew, and that was the club I started, and so I was very proud of that. And so my talent was I'm gonna go out, do some stand-up, but I'm just going to roast all the rich and popular kids and all the Hicks. There's a lot. It was a small town, a lot of Hicks, and so I did it, and then everybody loved it. I blew up on Twitter and Snapchat, and I could hear the guys, the rich popular kids who are like what was going up, they're like, yeah, they're like that's us, and so that was great. And then, but I didn't win Mr. 2HS. But then a couple weeks later, I was prom king, and so I think because I didn't win Mr. 2HS, they voted me to be prom king, and that was just the coolest thing ever. And then, you know, at prom, it's like dancing and everything, and it's like, where do I go from now? Like, I don't know where to go. And then so I started going to the Funny Bone, because I heard that was big time. And so it's a comedy club in Westport. So they have open mics on Tuesdays. And so I went there one random Tuesday. And I said kind of my skit from the talent show, but I changed it a little bit. And then it's like nobody laughed. And then, but all the other comics, they all said like dirty, racist, and just mean jokes. And I'm like, and everybody loved it. I'm like, okay, well then I'm gonna be dirty, racist, and mean, and people, and I started getting laughs out of it. And I'm like, okay, so, I mean, not everybody's proud of what I say on stage. I'm not gonna lie, and then, so it was like, yeah, it's fun, you know, dropping a couple F-bombs on stage and whatnot, but it's like, I really just want to be smart and like a really like funny comedian that you don't have to use like dirty and mean stuff. And so I'm really just like, oh, I gotta rethink myself. And I'm just waiting for the day where somebody important comes into the Funny Bone or watches my YouTube and so because I always just crave fame, fortune, and so I'm waiting for that day where it's just a one-way ticket to LA, and so that's what I'm planning. Yeah, I got it. No.
Look at you. Okay. Or is that, should I be worried then?
I feel like the legit actual the speech would be a lot better. From here to
Okay.
whenever, there would be improvement.
All right, take it away.
Okay. So how can the unsinkable sink? The White Star Line created 3 ships in the Olympic class, and they were competing against their competitors, the Cunard shipping, and so they want these ships, the Olympic class, to be the biggest and most badass ships ever. And so they created the Titanic, Olympic, and the Britannic. And they have 4 smokestacks, and the 4th one does absolutely nothing. They just built that for looks, so to make it look more masculine. And then so how can these unsinkable ships go to disaster? So the Titanic and the Olympic, they were built side by side, and the Olympic was the first to go into the water and start their passenger cruise liners, and so it took people to America, and so that was in 1911, and then but the Olympic had bad luck, and so there was it was HMS Hawk, it was another ship, and they collided, and that caused a lot of damage. So the ship didn't sink, but they had to do repairs on that, and then it went back to doing cruises, and then went back to doing cruises, but then around that time World War I was starting, and so they completely took out all the luxury stuff for going on cruises, and they turned the Olympic into a military ship. They put guns on it, and they painted blue, white, silver, and all these different patterns. They turned it into a Navy ship. They painted it like that so that the waves that you couldn't see coming was pretty cool. And that is from WhiteStarLineHistory.com. And so they turned that into a military ship. And then at the end of the war, World War I, in 1919, they turned it back into a cruise liner ship. And then at one point during the war, there was a German U-boat, and the captain legit, German U-boat, and they crashed it into the U-boat, and they sank the U-boat, and so by that time they started calling it the Old Reliable, and so then it turned into a regular cruise liner again, but then up until 1934 it was scrapped because the White Star Line and it was losing money, so it joined up the Cunard cruise line, and so they scrapped it. And then came the Titanic. This is going back to 1912. It set off on its maiden voyage in April 10th, and then on April 14th, it hit an iceberg, and then 1,500 passengers died, and that was one of the biggest disasters of all time. And then that was due because shortage of lifeboats, and the Titanic Olympic class ships, they were designed to take on 6 watertight components, but then it still sank, and so it was a big shock to everybody on how can this sink. And then right after that, the Britannic was still being built, and so they could go back and make some changes, make it better because of the Titanic disaster. But it passed a certain point towards they couldn't go back and fix some of the things. And then, so the Britannic was a cruise liner for passengers, but then since war broke out in World War I, it was turned into a hospital ship, and so it was transported like wounded soldiers, and then it was going towards the Mediterranean Sea, and then all of a sudden there's a big explosion. It hit an underwater mine, and that sank in 55 minutes compared to the Titanic, and that sank in 3 hours. And that was a big shock. How could something sink where they made better improvements? And then, so 30 people died there. And then, see, it's supposed to take on 6 watertight compartments. It only took 2 to sink it. And so, with that being said, even though the Titanic, Olympic, and the Britannic was they were good ships, you still, even though the Olympic was it didn't sink, it still went through a lot of bad luck. And the Titanic, even though it was a big disaster, led to improvements of the Britannic, but the Britannic, you just couldn't avoid sinking.
He was right at 7 minutes.
Boom.
Okay, so feedback.
Stop looking at the ground.
Oh, jeez. Drowned out.
Possibly some note cards to help with like the flow and keeping
Yeah.
it a bit more organized.
So yeah, I also wrote about your eye contact was either, a lot of it was either down here or up here, which is not an uncommon thing for people to do because they're trying to avoid looking out here. And you didn't have your note cards to pretend to look at instead, so that was what you were doing, just practicing trying to look at the audience. Like I said, you're not alone in that. Lots of people do that. Once you're in here watching other people, you'll probably see them do
It's
that
just
too.
kind of weird how everyone else is like lower than you. You know, like that's always weird.
Yeah, you are up here. That's true. This room's a little large. Need to cite your sources.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, and that's worth a lot of points. So, and that's something for all of you to make note of when you're giving your speeches. That citing of sources, that's 25 points. So it's the same as delivery, and unless you just do almost nothing, you tend to get some points for delivery. So think about just trying to get those 25 points for support by citing. Fillers, that was a thing that came up often. It became choppy. I think partially there were some pauses. You were trying to think. Note cards probably would have helped, but don't go overboard with the note cards either. You can take that too much the other way as well if you're not careful and rely too much on that. So happy medium if we can find that. And looking at the ground and lights. I thought it was difficult to tell when one main point began and another ended. It just seemed like one, and I think it will help. So you didn't really preview or review your main points clearly, and I think if you do that and it's obvious which three things you're talking about, how you're breaking it down, and then you can even go as far as to say, okay, next or now I'm going to talk about this. And that might seem excessive, but for your audience, it can really clarify, okay, now we're moving on, and this is supposed to be this different thing. And that's for all of you to think about with your topics. It's just something to consider to make it the clear distinction for yourself with that. And remember, this feedback's all meant to be helpful. This is why we're doing this, so that when you do it for the big points, you can get big points on it. So don't feel like you're being picked on. It's just everyone's going to have to do the same thing. And the reason I'm giving the feedback to a small audience, but to each of you, is actually so the small audience can benefit from that as well. So that you can say, okay, I also need to make sure I'm doing that for when I'm presenting. I need to consider these things as well. So just take this, and you can work on all those things. Take the feedback from everyone else as well. And you have, those of you who went today, we still have one more. For those of you who've gone today, you still have some time, quite a bit of time to tweak your presentation and improve upon it before you get a grade. You can always, if you have any questions, email me.
How can the unsinkable sink? So the White Star Line was competing against the Cunard line and shipbuilding, so they built the Olympic class, which included the Olympic, Titanic, and the Britannic. The Olympic was finished building in 1911, and then it was a passenger ship, and then it hit a cruise liner and a different ship called the HMS Hawk, and that's from WhiteStarLineHistory.com, and it collided, and so I had to go back to London for repairs. And then with that being said, people start to really believe these ships were unsinkable. So then eventually war broke out in World War I, and 1914 the Olympic was turned into a Navy ship. It had guns strapped onto it, and it was painted white, gray, and blue with different patterns so that the waves, you couldn't see it coming. And then during that time, it was noticed as the Old Reliable because, well, once the captain saw a German U-boat and decided to crash it in and sink the U-boat. And then, so it was a very good ship. And then eventually World War I ended, and then it went back to a cruise liner, and then it was a cruise liner up until 1934. Then it was scrapped because the White Star Line and the Cunard the line was being combined due to money issues. Then let's go back to the Titanic. The Titanic and the Olympic were being built side by side, and they were just the biggest ships of the time. And the Titanic set sail on its maiden voyage on April 10, 1912, and that's from TitanicFacts.com. And then 4 days later, it struck an iceberg, and 1,500 people died, and that's also from TitanicFacts.com. And that was the biggest disaster of the time. And that really kind of shocked the world because these ships are supposed to be unsinkable. And then the Britannic was still being built while the Titanic sank. But then they put repairs and they remodeled some of the Britannic so that they can make it better. And because they didn't want it to sink like the Titanic did. And then the Britannic was a passenger ship, and it took people to America because people were immigrants and wanted to, like, if they went from Ireland, they wanted to escape the potato famine, and war was breaking out. And then, since World War I broke out, it was turned into a hospital ship, and then it went and picked up passengers. It picked up wounded soldiers of the war, going back and forth, and eventually that hit underwater mine, and that sank within 55 minutes, compared to the sister ship, the Titanic, which took a little under 3 hours to sink. And for a while, they didn't even know what sank the Britannic, but then it turns out it was an underwater mine. And that is from TitanicandCompany.com. And then, so people had to think of what went wrong. The Britannic and the Titanic and the Olympic, they're able to take on 6 watertight compartments, but the Britannic only took on 2, and it still sank. And so, that being said, the White Star Line, they had good ships, but even though the Olympic didn't sink, it still had bad luck. And then the Titanic sank and a lot of people died because there wasn't enough lifeboats. But since that sank, some good things came out of, and they were able to improve the Britannic, but it was still unfortunately not able to be unsinkable. You like movies. What if I told you that you couldn't go to the movie theater and sit down with your friends and eat popcorn and have a great time? What if I told you that you were in a hospital bed sick and so you couldn't enjoy films? So there are thousands of kids in hospitals that can't go to the movies because they are sick, and that just breaks my heart because I've seen so many movies growing up, like movies like Spider-Man and Harry Potter and Star Wars, and it just breaks my heart that they can't go and enjoy that. And so hospitals need DVDs and money to be donated so these kids could enjoy that, and there is this organization called KidFlix.org, and it was funded by 4 sisters back in 2002 out of Los Angeles because they had a friend who had leukemia, and they knew that she liked movies, so they went home and grabbed a bunch of DVDs, and they went back to the hospital, and then they donated all these DVDs to the hospital, and they learned how much kids enjoyed watching these movies. And so they donated a bunch of movies. And then back in 2008, they met George W. Bush. And George W. Bush gave them a volunteer service award. And so they're recognized for that. And then in December 13 of last year, Kids Flicks donated 116,200 movies to over 1,000 hospitals. And that really helped out a lot of kids, and they really enjoy watching that. But they could still use more donations. So here's a quote from Ken Miyamoto, and he works with Sony Pictures, and he's like a screenplay writer, producer, and he said, we all need therapy in our lives. Movies offer that. And basically what he was saying is that they could bring joy and happiness when you watch a movie because it helps distract from the real world. So from the news station today.com, this is from Monique Zarat, a 14-year-old patient. She said, this is after Kids Flicks donated DVDs to her hospital. You get to take your mind off all of the problems that you have right now, and all the surgeries going on, and all of the bad things. But look at the bright side. You're watching movies. You're laughing. You're having fun. And so you can see that donating movies to these hospitals really impact these kids' lives because they got, all these surgeries and they're sick and laying in hospital beds all day. And so they get to just sit with their friends and watch a movie. And it's just really empowering to me because it's really quite a simple thing to do. So, I enjoy a lot of movies, and so it's like seeing these kids impacted by that really affects me. So you could go to kidsflix.org and you could donate DVDs by mailing them. And so I actually last night I went up to Goodwill and they're selling DVDs for $2 each. And so I bought 9 DVDs there, and then so that was $18, and so for $18, and then I already had some DVDs that I found laying around that I don't watch anymore, and I put those in a box and wrote a short little note to them saying thanks for all the things that you're doing, and then so it's going to be going to the post office later today, so. That made me feel pretty good helping out, and so they definitely could use more help. And let's see, Kids Flicks has helped a lot of kids in these hospitals because, as what that 14-year-old patient said, is that it really it takes away just all the pain, and so that really makes me feel good. Anyways, so definitely I would recommend going to kidsflix.com and just even you can donate $1 or whatever, and so it's pretty powerful that just these 4 sisters solve a problem. And so that Kids Flicks is helping kids in hospitals. Melissa McCarthy, I loved your role as Willie in Free Willy. When they casted you for Hangover Part 3, they were actually hungover. I think they mixed you up with John Goodman. Let's see. You're in so many movies. No wonder why they call you Identity Thief. You even took Bill Murray's job. Ghostbusters? The only ghost you're busting is a dead audience. Let's see. What else? At your wedding day, the only bridesmaid that you had was yourself. Let's see. The worst thing about Saturdays is watching you on Saturday Night Live. Okay. Whatever. Let's see. So I went to the mall the other day. Guess what I didn't see? Melissa's clothing line. The heat is so bad that not even Sandra Bullock can make you look good. The characters you play is actually you in real life. Just look at Tammy. We get it. You love pie. Let's see. I watched The Boss last night, and she fell down some stairs. What else is new? Oh. Melissa, you never said no to a roll. Not just saying the food. Let's see. From one comedian to another, I respect you, even though that you give women a hopeless dream of being a good actress. Okay, whatever. I'll work on that one. Okay, yep.
Yeah,
That's a really fitting name for you, actually.
How many times when you're in elementary school did the teach like
So he's a
their
fucking
class
slide
settings
for
and
me.
they
I'll walk over there and do this.
Well, my grandma was a principal.
Can we use this to do it?
So
Oh.
they
Don't
No,
you just
yeah.
hit this arrow button on the
My mom
keyboard?
was the assistant.
And right there.
Have you ever done this before?
I've never had to give a presentation.
You just have to hit one button, then I'll do it, then I'll go back. Ready? Good? All good? Okay. You ready? Know what you're doing? Go back. Okay. Today we'll be talking about the Writing Center. I want to start this off by asking you a question. How many of you people have problems with writing? Whether it be for this class with our outlines, or a language arts class with your papers, or possibly writing a poem to get someone you'd like to go out with you, because people do that. Or a breakup text to break up with someone you no longer like who you previously wrote a poem for. Well, today we'll be talking about the Writing Center, which is a place purposely designed to help you with this. Today we will be giving you testimonial from multiple people around campus, which includes 2 language arts teachers at this particular campus, 2 tutors from the Writing Center itself that currently work there, and also 2 students that have visited the Writing Center and have given us their opinions on it. So today, with this speech, we hope to persuade you to actually utilize the services provided by your colleges to get better grades, to then go on to a brighter future.
The main goal of the Writing Center is to make students more stronger and independent writers. They are staffed with professionals who are dedicated, and they share their knowledge of writing and passion. They offer feedback in a comfortable and friendly environment, and aim to make you more confident when you leave than when you came. They offer help not only with English essays, but also lab reports as well, even transfer essays for 4-year universities. and any other classes that you might need. Pretty much anything that is writing. The staff is chosen based on their expertise. Many of them have their BAs, which is just a bachelor's degree in arts, and some even have their master's degree in that section. And they're also chosen based on their experience in writing and teaching. They help you with a lot of things related to the writing process, such as finding a topic, narrowing your topic down, brainstorming your ideas on paper, organizing your thoughts, and developing main ideas for your thesis, as well as generating thesis support. They also help you focus on your thesis and really develop your rough draft, which can be really important when you're working on your final draft. They also help find grammatical errors and structure errors, and also provide tips to prevent any errors from happening again in the future. As well as help fine-tune essays for scholarships or for application papers. I, for one, had an application paper in my psychology class, which I needed a lot of help for, and it was just really helpful. They offer many free services, such as free printing up to 10 pages, and use of their 12 laptops, which can also be really useful if all the other computers in the library are taken up. They also offer help with the Microsoft software if you're unfamiliar with that, and any other things you might be unfamiliar with. They are located in the library in IR 217. They can also be reached by phone. Phone number is right here in case you need that. They are open Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m. and close at 7 p.m. On Fridays, they're open at 8 a.m. and close at 3 p.m. And any further information can be found at the STLCC website under academic resources.
Woo-wee, ladies and gentlemen. I interviewed three professors about the Writing Center, and they all said that it is a wonderful, needed, amazing boon of a resource for this campus. I interviewed one Professor Parad, one Professor Little, and one Professor Messmer. Now, these teachers had nothing but glowing, positive reviews to say about the Writing Center. This is to say that they found that their students' work became much more clear and concise after using it. They can obviously tell when you have gone to it. They also, Professor Parad and Professor Little say this. Mr. Messmer didn't. Professor Parad and Professor Little said that the Writing Center will help your professors understand your work, and it also helps the students understand their professors' work. As in, they work with the teachers to help make their outlines, or so be it, much more easier to understand. They narrow down the topics so that students don't get as lost on their final papers or any other paper. Now, Professor Messmer told me that the Writing Center is not just there for your papers. It is there for essays, dissertations, emails, breakup texts. And Professor Little said that it should be used by everyone, faculty, staff, students, even the campus police. As in, it does not hurt at all to go there. It is just there meant to be positive for you. It helps with your writing. The key word there being helps. It does not fix your writing. As Professor Parad said, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. You go there, and they will help you figure out your paper, find what's wrong with it, and narrow down some of your bigger problems and your little problems. But they will not do all the work for you. They will show you the little bits that need to be changed. They will show you what doesn't make sense and what needs to be omitted, but they will not do all of that for you. In fact, they do minimalistic work because they're there to make you a better writer. They are not there to be your writer. Now, Professor Little actually personally uses the Writing Center, and to me that's a giant positive for them, because that's saying that a professor in charge of language arts or college composition at this university still goes there for writing help on his emails and papers. And Professor Parad believes that the Writing Center is something that you need if you're going to work on papers, because the professors obviously tell if you have been there or not. and they see nothing but positivity and positive improvement in their students' work. Now, Professor Little has worked at several other college campuses, albeit community college or major university, he did not specify. And he said that the Writing Center, this Writing Center at Merrimack campus, is the best one that he has ever seen at any of his campuses. And that's saying a lot from someone who's worked at several others. Now, whenever I interviewed Professor Messmer, oh, that's not on here yet. Whenever I interviewed Professor Messmer, he's a politics teacher. I asked him how the Writing Center factors into his class whenever it comes to his students writing their papers or anything else. He says that it really helps narrow down the idea and makes the paper much more understandable for him, meaning that whenever it comes to politics, a already deeply confusing topic for most, it makes it very easy for him to read through and give you a better grade than sitting there and trying to decipher what gibberish you put on. Now, has it helped him? Yes. If you didn't know, Professor Messmer is one of the most accomplished public speakers on this campus, according to my two other interviewees, Professor Little and Professor Perrott. And he has gone there to help his speeches be weeded out and trimmed down to what they need to be so he doesn't add too much fluff. And all three of the professors believe that the Writing Center is something that you just should use. There's no reason to avoid it. You're on campus, you're already paying $2,000 to go here a semester, and it's a free resource. There's no reason to avoid it. And the only negatives I heard from all three professors was from Professor Perrott. He believes that the hours are a little too short. He feels that it should be here from open to close every day. Professor Little believes that they are located just a little bit too far away from the writing area here in Communication North, where they actually used to be located. And Professor Messmer believes that they're not broadcasted well enough on campus. They're set up in the library, tucked away in a little back corner, and yes, they've gotten more visitors since they've moved, but he feels that the campus blazes over the fact that we have such a useful resource here on campus. Now, for the theatrics here, Professor Messmer gave the Writing Center a 10 out of 10 because he says that it's the best thing on this campus next to the teaching. Professor Little gave it a 9 out of 10 because, well, nobody's perfect. And Professor Messmer gave it a 9 out of 10 because he said, oh heck, I don't know what else to give it.
Patty Cuckoo actually has worked for the Writing Center for 21 years, so she's definitely the woman that you want to go to because she's worked there for so long. And I've heard many great things about her, actually. My friends are like, oh, you should go see Patty at the Writing Center. So she's pretty well known there since she has worked there for 21 years. And she helps the faculty, like Michael has said, there are many faculty members that have gone there, and she helps them with assignment sheets and student papers as well. And she says the funding is a major problem because obviously they only get so much funding, but she also wishes that they could stay open longer because obviously the hours were pretty short there. And she sees improvements in repeat students no matter what English class you're in or what level of writing you are in. Even if you aren't in an English class anymore, you can still go there for other classes. Kathy Essner has worked for the Writing Center for 9 years, not quite as much as Patty, but she's getting up there. And she sees faculty since some of them want to talk about students' papers, and if they have missed something in the student's paper, they want to double check. And she wishes for additional staff as well because they are quite understaffed because their Writing Center is in a little small corner, as Michael has said. It's just tucked away in the corner in the back by the bathrooms. And Andrew Pryor likes the Writing Center being at the library because there's so many resources there. Even though that it is tucked away in a corner, you can have access to the laptops whenever most professors want your essays typed. So you have so many computers available to you that you are available to use. And he likes to watch the students grow as they write, which is a great thing. And he rates it a 10 out of 10 for usefulness for students. And there's no reason to use it because it's free with your tuition. There's no reason not to use it.
I went to the library and I interviewed anybody who I saw sitting down on a computer and it looked like they were typing a paper. And then, so the first person I interviewed, his name was Aza, and he was typing a paper, and then I asked him if I could interview him. So I asked him some questions, and I said, "Do you like the Writing Center?" And he said that he likes the idea of the Writing Center, but some of the teachers are better than others, and they could use a bit more work on that. And then I said, "Would you recommend the Writing Center?" And he said he definitely would. It doesn't hurt if you need help, and so he would definitely recommend that. And then I said, "Did the Writing Center help you?" He said it helped him understand what to write about for his paper and how to organize his paper and understand just what to put into it. Then I asked another person what she thought of the Writing Center, and I asked her all the same questions, and she just gave me yes answers, and I figured that wasn't good enough. So then I went and I interviewed another person, and her name was Alex, and I asked her, "Do you like the Writing Center?" And she says, "It's nice to have, and it's definitely there if you need it." Then I said, "Would you recommend the Writing Center?" And she said, "Yes, it's good for people who need to work on their papers, and definitely if you need it, don't shy away and go to it." And then I asked her, "Did the Writing Center help?" And she said, "Yes, it helped me complete my paper." The students had good confidence in what they were saying about the Writing Center, and they were all just had positive feedback on the Writing Center. And Alex said pretty much the worst thing about the Writing Center is actually having to take time out of your day to just go to them. And I'm writing a paper for English Comp, and it's about polo, and it's very boring, and it has to be in certain areas and sections and stuff. And I'm definitely thinking about going to the Writing Center to get help on my final paper.
I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I had my first experience at the Writing Center just 2 weeks ago. A scared young boy going up to the second floor of the library. I know, it's scary. It's frightening. As I walked in, there was a bald man with a full beard who looked more like he'd be akin to splitting wood than writing on paper. This man he was up there, Andrew Pryor. This man helped me with my last paper that I was almost positive I was going to fail. He ran me through everything. He showed me what I needed to cite. He was probably one of the most wonderful people I met on this campus, actually. Very nice, very lovely man. And he helped me go from having probably a failing paper to a C. He is an amazing person, and he is the reason I'm going to pass my college composition 2 class. So if you need anything, if you don't believe all the recommendations we gave you from teachers, students, the tutors themselves, then believe me now, myself, when I say the Writing Center is something you have to use. Because, holy heck, man, I'm all for writing papers, and I felt confident for once in my writing. I also didn't know how to cite a tweet from Donald Trump, and that helped a lot.
Now, to conclude, that was the Writing Center. We gave you testimonial from Professor Parad, Little, and Messmer. We gave you testimonial from the 2 tutors, Miss Kotz and Miss Esner. We also gave you testimonial from the 2 students, Azza, Aliv, and Alex. And we hope that through this speech we have convinced you to utilize the services and utilities that are provided by this college, more specific the Writing Center in our case, but all of them are good, as we've heard throughout all these speeches.